Simply put, he's a natural. From his start at age 5 into his sophomore Winston Cup season of today, he was always that can't-miss racing talent that comes along so very rarely. His touch with a race car is something that others just wish they could possess. Now, at age 23, this transplanted Hoosier went back home again this past weekend and was as dominating at the Brickyard as though it were his own backyard. And tonight, you get to meet one of racing's true superstars, Jeff Gordon, driver of the DuPont Chevrolet, as Nutmeg Mills presents This Week in NASCAR. And now, from the headquarters building of Corning Incorporated in Corning, New York, here's the host of This Week in NASCAR, Eli Gold.
Designs of this building, the headquarters building, and the area that we've gathered in here this evening, hosting about 300 fans of Jeff Gordon who've joined us on the show tonight. Glad you're along with us as well. We've got our phone lines open all across America if you'd like to tune in. 1-800-292-5551. That's our phone number if you'd like to check in with us this evening on This Week in NASCAR. And I bet that your phone calls are going to be coming into us tonight over fiber optics. And I'm holding right here in front of me some of the Corning fiber optics that these people manufacture here, along with all of the other outstanding items that they have made for many, many years. This, believe it or not, is a roll of better than a mile of fiber optic. And each of these wires are really the width of your hair. And it's very, very light, as you can see. And each of these little cables, if you will, can transmit some 24,000 phone calls at the same time. It really is mind-boggling. This beautiful building alone has 72 miles of fiber optic built within it. So that's just something that they do here at Corning, along with all of the other fine items we've been familiar with over the years. Corning fiber, the fiber optic that you can trust, has really become a mainstay of the telecommunications business and the information superhighway that goes right through downtown Corning, New York. Let's bring you up to speed on all the news of this week, because it has been a busy week as far as NASCAR is concerned. First off, let's go back to last Saturday's Brickyard 400. If you were with us at the event, you know that Jimmy Spencer tagged the wall on the 8th lap of the event. Jimmy has suffered a rather severely broken shoulder. Badly enough broken it is that he'll not be here this weekend. The driving chores of the McDonald's Ford taken over by that man, Tommy Kendall, a veteran road racer from La Cañada, California. He's already in town to drive the Trans Am Series race on Saturday. He'll be doing double duty, and Jimmy Spencer told us on Tuesday, when last we talked, that he figures he'll be set to go physically in time for next weekend's race at Michigan International Speedway. This has also been a fairly busy week as far as driver changes are concerned. A lot of news coming down after the Brickyard 400. First off, that man, Derek Cope, who began the year with Cale Yarborough, then moved to T.W. Taylor's team. He's now driving for Bobby Allison Motorsports. Tim Steele left. It was a mutual decision earlier in the week, so Derek is set for Bobby's team here this weekend. John Andretti is still not quite sure what the future holds. Billy Hagan announced earlier in the week that the finances are starting to get a little slim. They'll definitely run Bristol. They'll definitely run Martinsville. They'll be here if they can find a sponsor. They'll be in Michigan if they can find a sponsor. So a little tough time for John Andretti and the boys. And the other story of the week, Wally Dallenbach Jr., despite all the published reports that said his departure was imminent, he is here in Watkins Glen. He'll be driving the STP Pontiac this weekend for Richard Petty. No determination as to what next week or the week after will hold, but as far as the news that says he's already out of the team, that is incorrect. He will drive the STP Pontiac in the Bud at the Glen here on Sunday. And one other piece of news that might have eluded you in and around all the hubbub of the Brickyard 400, the folks at Pennzoil and Michael Waltrip all re-upping for another 2-year contract with Bahari Racing. That was announced last weekend, so Michael all set to go for another couple of years in car number 30. And there you have the news of this week, and a very busy week it has been. Good news for some and not so quite as good for others. But the news couldn't be any better than what's been going on this week for our special guest, Jeff Gordon. As well you know, this young man who has been the talk of racing, a talent, as we said, who is very much a natural, goes out and wins the first running of the Brickyard 400. Jeff, I can't imagine the emotions that were coursing through your body there when you took that checkered flag.
Oh, it was truly amazing. You know, I can't really even describe what was going through my mind at that time. I had to make an extra lap. You know, I crossed the checkered flag, and you know, had a lot of guys congratulate me, and I really was happy about that. And then I said, hey, you know, I need to make another lap here. I can't believe we just did this. So I made another lap. It was great.
It was a super afternoon. You know, I'm kind of surprised you have an earpiece for your show tonight. I'm kind of surprised you don't have a telephone grafted to your ear by now. I dare say it's been nonstop this week.
I've been looking at those fiber optics.
You've probably gone through all of these this week. Let's talk about what has gone on already this week. You went immediately after Indianapolis down to Disney. You were back at the shop doing the pit tests or the preparation for this weekend, because pit stops are so different here at Watkins Glen. Yeah, it was a big Saturday, but you got to get right back to the business of racing again.
Absolutely. You know, we have done so much, and I even knew that the winner of the race, I wasn't even considering myself. I mean, it was a big surprise to all of us, but I knew that the winner of that race was going to go on and be so busy and go on to do so many things that, you know, they probably weren't going to have much time to themselves, but it's all worth it. As the winner of the race, I can tell you that there isn't anything that I would turn back. There isn't anything more that I wanted to do this year or in a lifetime than to win that first race at Indianapolis.
Jeff Gordon, the driver of the DuPont Chevrolet, is our special guest this evening. Again, our phones are open toll-free at 1-800-292-5551. So give us a call as we're live tonight in Corning, New York on This Week in NASCAR, and your phone calls are up next as soon as we return.
This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Nutmeg Racing. Nutmeg's new NASCAR collection of caps and T-shirts are for race fans who want to stand out from the crowd. By Chevrolet. One car company has won more races in the history of NASCAR. Genuine Chevrolet. By Smooth Busch Beer and easy drinking Busch Light. Busch, the official beer of NASCAR. And by American Honda, who has been making quality automobiles in America for the past 11 years.
Sure, you got a state-of-the-art asset. We're not sure why you love your bill.
Corvette back by Eureka for home or auto. 10 tools included. Power for big jobs, tight spots, extra long cords. Corvette back by Eureka.
Indianapolis last Saturday, Robert Gates is looking on, the team owner for Ernie Irvan. Jeff Gordon, take us through this pivotal pass here.
Well, actually, what happened is I was trying to just get as close to Ernie and get as much air off him as I could, but I didn't want to pass him at this point. I was still wanting to ride behind him for a little while, but you know, I don't know if his tire actually started to go down as we went into that first turn or not, but you can see right here, he's pretty much falling off the pace. He knew something was happening.
Jeff Gordon, the driver of the DuPont Chevrolet, with us here this evening in Corning, New York. I want to get right to the phone lines and head first down to Sal in South Daytona. He is watching on the Sunshine Network in Florida. Hello.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on your show, Eli.
Our pleasure, sir.
Jeff, my wife, Cindy, and myself want to congratulate you on a great race.
Thank you.
You already answered one of the questions about the 2 extra laps. The other question was, I caught the end of an ESPN interview, and you had mentioned something about not being able to take a Kawicki lap, and what does that mean?
A what lap?
A Kawicki lap.
Yeah, well, that's what a Polish victory lap,
sure.
and you know, after Alan passed away, a tradition started, because when he won a race, he did a Polish victory lap and did it backwards, and so you saw Rusty do it. I'm not sure who else did it, maybe Earnhardt.
Jeff Bodine.
Sure. Jeff Bodine did it. And NASCAR put a halt to it because they didn't want him turning around and coming back into any traffic or causing any danger. And I wanted to do something special. I mean, that was a big win for me. And you know, I mean, I wanted to thoroughly just let it all sink in and enjoy as much of it as I possibly could. And so to me, I just had to make another lap. And there's so many people around that facility,
sure.
You know, that were going crazy, and I just wanted to enjoy that, and I did.
Let's go down to Vero Beach, Florida. Tom's joining us on the Sunshine Network. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Eli. I got a question for you and for Jeff. I got a couple for Jeff.
All right.
I was wondering how I could get a copy of last week's show. I missed it. And Jeff, I'm wondering if you're ever going to roll out open wheel cars, and would you please blow a kiss to Kathy Kreiner?
Which one first?
Let's Let's do the easy one first and talk about open-wheel cars.
The open-wheel cars, I love them, and I mean, I try to watch Thursday Night Thunder all the time, and when I get an opportunity to drive a car, I do. The only time I've really gotten back in a car is at the Hoosier Dome. They have every year inaugural race, and it's an invitational midget race inside the Hoosier Dome on the floor, and an old car owner of mine, Raleigh Helming, calls me up and asks me if I want to run it, and when he's got a car, I'm there to drive it. But other than that, you know, I've pretty much stayed away from it. It's been so busy and so hectic that I just hadn't had time for anything else.
And as far as the tape of last week's show with Dale Earnhardt, at the end of this evening's program, we always have an address on the screen as to where you can write to the producers of this program. The show is produced in Denver, Colorado, and you can certainly jot down that address and give them any questions you have about getting a copy of the show.
The only kisses I should be blowing is probably to Brooke. I'm not doing any kisses.
There you go. Brooke is with us here in the audience. Jeff and Brooke engaged to be married later this year. Let's go now to the state of Pennsylvania for a question. Annette in Bethlehem, how you doing? Hi, Annette, how are you? Evidently, Annette couldn't stay with us. Folks, if you do get through, I know it's oftentimes troublesome to get through on our lines. Once you get through, just hang with us on our call-in lines. We'll get to you as quickly as we can. Right now, we're going to break away, though, and take a look at the point standings heading into Sunday's Budweiser at the Glen, and more of your calls on This Week in NASCAR right after this. Just talk to you.
Dramatic changes in life insurance have created.
Under the lights at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Coke 600 back in May with Jeff Gordon en route to Victory Lane. Compare the emotions, if you even can, from that victory to what you went through on Saturday.
Well, it's two totally different emotions. I mean, here, you know, your first Winston Cup victory means so much, and I never thought that I was going to see that moment ever in my whole life, and when that all came, my emotions completely tore down, and, you know, I completely lost it. I think it was just such a shock and such a relief to get over that hill and to finally be a winner on the Winston Cup circuit, something I never thought. But as far as the Brickyard, I mean, I was so excited, you know, and I wasn't about to get emotional like I did at the Coca-Cola 600 because I didn't get to enjoy it. I about hyperventilated in Victory Lane. And so I wanted to enjoy this one, and I certainly did.
Let's go up to Worcester, Massachusetts now for Mike, who is watching on Sports Channel New England. Hello, Mike.
It's Mark.
Yes, sir.
Mark.
Mark.
I want to congratulate Jeff first for your 600 victory.
Thank you.
And then for Indianapolis, too.
Thank you very much.
Eli, I love your show.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question for both of you. Do either one of you know what happened between Jeff and Brett Bodine?
Really not. I don't think anybody knows definitively what happened other than the two men involved, and I have not asked them. I have seen them and haven't asked them, and as far as the other elements of what was talked about on the air, is that should be kept within their family or aired however they choose to air it. It's not a subject for this forum, but we appreciate you calling in. Our calls are available. Phone lines open at 1-800-292-5551. Let's go to Scott. He's in Pratt, Kansas, joining us tonight. Hello, Scott.
Hi there. How are you guys?
Great, thank you.
Great.
Good. Hey, Eli. We want to tell you we really enjoyed NASCAR World.
Well, I'm glad you did.
And Jeff Gordon, congratulations on that win. It was really great to be there.
Oh, thank you very much. It sure was.
The goosebumps for us as you guys went down the main straightaway was just really wonderful. What my question is I wanted to know if there was somewhere that we could send our ticket stubs to have those autographed and then have them sent back.
I'm sure you've not sent any autographs this week, have you?
And no ticket stubs at all.
Really?
Well, as far as where to send them, you know, Hendrick Motorsports, I don't know the address offhand, but Harrisburg, North Carolina, and we can probably get the fan club address and also make sure, because we do. I'd much rather people send the stuff and you know, that way it gets done, because it's so hard to find me at the racetrack, when I'm not busy or, not in the race car and trying to do business. So we'd much rather, everybody send the stuff to either the shop or the fan club.
We've got a great crowd joining us here at the Corning headquarters building tonight, and we've got Stan who will be here with a question for Jeff Gordon in just a moment. Let's talk about the demands on your time. A lot of folks don't realize, we mentioned before, doing pit work tests and tire tests and so on. How many days a week are you actually in a race car or doing something for a sponsor? There's precious little time.
Well, there isn't any week that is the same, and I think the most difficult thing is I have a schedule I've had since probably December or January that was the whole year. I mean, everything was planned within a full year, and we're planning right now for next year. But what happens is that schedule changes all the time. Something's thrown in there. You think that you got everything perfect, and you know what you're going to do on this day, and then all of a sudden, a couple hours before, everything changes. So that gets difficult. But we've got so many sponsors, not just DuPont. Those are the ones I do the most things for.
Sure.
But you got Valvoline, Kellogg's, and I'm on the McDonald's All-Star team. So besides that, and then trying to get to the shop and get in the cars, pit practice, hang out with the guys, and then hang out with my future wife and try to get that personal time in there also. Because I'm a normal person. I've got bills to pay. I've got laundry to do, and so
the everyday stuff.
I mean, and trying to fit that into a 7-day week, we need to make them a little longer.
We've got Stan joining us here at the Corning headquarters building. He's from Lindley, New York. Hello, Stan.
Good race last week. I was out there. I'd like to ask you about the new Monte Carlos. Have you guys tested anything like that yet, or?
I have not tested one, but I know that we are going to be testing them very soon, and we're building cars right now. Hendrick Motorsports has tested a car, but as far as me getting in the driver's seat, haven't yet. We are in the middle right now of building a car. There's so many things that go into putting a new body on a race car. You don't just throw the sheet metal on there and go. So trying to get the right templates and as much speed out of it as we can, and trying to get all those things passed with NASCAR, keep them happy, and try to go fast at the same time. It's going to take a lot of time, but I do plan on testing here in the near future.
Sure. And those of us who got a good look at the car last week at Indianapolis as the pace car, it looks as though the car is going about 100 miles an hour just sitting still, so it looks as though it's the basis of an awfully good race car. Quick reminder about where we're going to be the next couple of shows. Next Thursday evening, we'll be at the home of our Detroit network, the Pass Studios. They are in the WDIV building in downtown Detroit, Michigan. 8 o'clock Eastern Time next Thursday. And 2 weeks from tonight, we'll be with you from the Paramount Theater in Bristol, Tennessee. Room for about 1,000 folks to join us. It's right there in and around their big race night activities. So join us in 2 weeks in Bristol at the Paramount Theater. We're breaking away and coming right back to more of your calls. But as we leave you, here's a look at positions 11 through 20 in NASCAR Winston Cup points. And more with Jeff Gordon right after this.
On video. He's back! Everyone's back. The IC Light Concert Series continues as Arby's and Quintex welcome Jeff.
February 1994, Busch Clash. Pretty gutsy move right here, Mr. Jeff Gordon.
They tell me that the Busch Clash is something you just go for it, you don't lift, and that's what gets you to the front. So that's what I was going to do. Had no idea that move was ever going to happen, but it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had Brett Bodine with me. So it was kind of a team effort, not really a Hendrick Motorsports team effort.
But a team effort nonetheless. Jeff Gordon, driver of the DuPont Chevrolet, is our special guest. Let's get right back to the phones. Go down to Ruston, Louisiana, where John is watching on the HSE network. How you doing, John?
Pretty good. Congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
What I was calling for, you have a lot of fans over here in the Deep South area, over here around Louisiana and Texas and all, and I was just wondering if there was any kind of promotional appearances you had planned or anything around this area, because the only chance we get to come see you is at Talladega, and we'd love to see a lot more of you.
Well, I know I was in Tupelo, Mississippi not long ago. I don't know how close that is, but that's the only one that I know of. You know, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow except for being at the racetrack. So it's hard for me to say. You know, again, you can call to either my fan club, which is in Arizona, and you can also call to Hendrick Motorsports, and a lot of times they can tell you.
As we always tell the folks also, when any driver is appearing in your area, rest assured it's going to be promoted quite heavily. So just keep your eyes on the local radio and TV outlets, the newspapers, and they'll let you know when Jeff or anybody else might be coming down to the Bayou to visit. Let's go now to Cumberland, Maryland. Leo is joining us on Home Team Sports. How you doing, Leo?
Oh, doing real good, Eli.
Good.
Jeff, congratulations and thank you for a very clean run race.
Oh, thank you very much.
And my question is, how much difference is there between the setup on a road course car and a short track car?
Okay, well, we were just answering that one.
We were talking about that here off the air with the folks at the headquarters building.
You know, I can't get into all the details. I'm still learning these race cars myself. If it was a mid-year sprint car, I could, you know, tell you inside and out. Sure. But the main thing that we do with the cars is move a lot more of the weight to the right side of the car because there are more right-hand turns than left-hand turns. You know, and then we'll do stuff with the geometry, camber, caster, things like that in the front end of the car, plus also in the rear, just trying to make the car hook up to make right-hand turns. And actually, we'll get the cars to where they turn better on the right-hand turn than they would on the left.
It sounds simple enough, but I know the guys are going to be thrashing on it all day, on all weekend long. Let's go out to Hannibal, Missouri now, where Donna is joining us on Prime Midwest. Hey, Donna. Donna, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Didn't mean to wake you.
We have just a little delay here.
What can we do for you?
I would like to congratulate Jeff, and I would like to ask him, was the Speedway any different, you know, the super Speedways, any different than you have raced anywhere else?
Yeah, did you have to teach yourself to like 200-mile-an-hour speeds or even the 170 of an Indianapolis when you first came out of the small cars?
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't hard to teach me to like it. I loved it right from the start. That's what I was looking forward to. Sure. You know, I mean, I'd been racing the short tracks and stuff all my life. It was those big tracks I always wanted to race. But I've been very fortunate to have good cars and good engines, good bodies every time I've been on the super speedway. So that's made it worthwhile. And I think because of that, I enjoy them even more. But the speeds are really not... To me, I feel like I'm going faster at Martinsville or you know, Bristol, say, than I would at Daytona and Talladega or even Indianapolis, because the speed is all based on how much you got to slow down, sure. And you're just wide open. You got this track with these big high bank sweeping corners, so you're really not worried about speed at a place like that until that thing gets away from you. Sure. Then you know how fast you're going in a hurry.
That's a good point, though. I guess speed is basically relative to anything else alongside of you, and I can see where a Bristol or a Dover or something like that would give you more sensation of speed. Let's go to Kaiser, West Virginia. Clinton is watching on the KBL Sports Network. Good evening.
Jeff?
Hi.
I'm a really big fan, and I would like to know how you felt when you crossed the line on the Brickyard 400, and I'd like to know if I could have your address for your fan club.
Okay. Again, we'll have to get that. We haven't done that yet, but we'll have to get that address.
We talked about the emotions earlier. What was the radio communication like? Was there just unabashed yelling and screaming back and forth between yourself and Ray and the fellas?
Well, you know, you got to realize there was a lot of talking going on with, say, 10, 12 laps to go, because, you know, Ernie had caught me, and he got me very loose, and he got around me. And you know, they didn't want me. They were in the pit saying, "Don't let him get by." And I said, "Hey, I've got to let him go. I've got to let him go. He's just getting me too loose." So when he did that, I got back on behind him and got him loosened up, and he let me by him. You know, and we're just going back and forth. And
nobody wanted to leave.
Nobody wanted to leave because it was not the place to be. So, you know, I finally said, okay, I'm going to get behind him and ride it out. And they counted the laps down to me, 10, 9, 8. And we got down to the 5th lap, and that's when it all happened. But, you know, I really wasn't planning on going until like 2 or 3 laps to go. And then we were going to hang it all out, and you know, then I didn't know what was going to happen. But it would have been a great race. I hate, you know, for that to happen to Ernie. But when I came down to take the checkered, I was screaming and yelling you know, just, man, we did it. I can't believe it. And they were, you know, they probably had no idea what I even said because their radios were going everywhere. And it was, yeah, it was great.
That's super. That's wonderful emotion from winner of the Brickyard 400, Jeff Gordon, a former Winston Cup Rookie of the Year. And let's take a look as we leave you here for a moment at the current Rookie of the Year battle in NASCAR Winston Cup Racing. And we come back to Corning, New York with more of your questions. Stay with us.
Into gear with on.
The Corning Incorporated headquarters building. It opened in May of this year, and it is a magnificent building here on the banks of the Chemung River. It's right out behind our set here in downtown Corning. They've got some 30,000 fans just up the street here on Market Street as their Race Fest activities take place. This really, I think you've probably noticed it also, this has been right alongside the Race Fest at Daytona. Maybe the best turnout between here and Bath and Montour Falls and Elmira. I don't think we've seen communities turn out like this anywhere else.
No, this is a great facility, and you know, I walked in here and said, "Wow!" And this is really great. This
really
is wonderful.
We've got a lot of visitors here, including Tom. He's with us from Farmington, New York. He's got a question for Jeff. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you, Eli? Jeff?
Great. Thank you.
Hey.
Good luck on the rest of the year, and you did a great job making NASCAR history last week.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Question is in regard to Hoosier tires. Being that you're a Hoosier yourself, I figured maybe you could give me a good answer here. Last week, I heard Rusty Wallace during the polls Thursday and Friday. I believe verbatim was, he said that the Hoosier tires, something's been hanky-panky, I believe is what he said, going on, and that Hoosier shows up with one tire for poll day, and something happens. I guess a ferry brings in some more tires for race day. I think that this Hoosier battle makes the racing that much more interesting. And, you know, I love to see it. I was wondering what you felt.
Well, you know, the Hoosiers, they definitely bring in an interesting aspect to the sport. And, you know, there's definitely been times when they've been tough, and they've made it tough for the guys who are winning all the time, the black cars, I guess we could say. But, you know, it's hard for me to say. I mean, I'm not on the Hoosier tires, but I think from the Goodyear side, you know, you see a guy who's running good, and he's on a different tire, and you don't know what's going to happen to that tire. Are they going to be around forever? Nobody really knows how long they're going to be around, and so, you know, I think because they've seen it happen before, they came in, and then they were there for a while, and then they left. Yeah. You know, nobody knows the future. So, you know, when you see a guy go out there and he gets the pole because he's on Hoosier tires, or he runs good because he's on Hoosier tires, you know, when you're on Goodyear's, it makes it tough. But
of course, the other thing to remember, though, is Hoosier might win Friday, but Goodyear has won all but one of the Sundays or Saturdays in the case of the race last weekend. So what necessarily works one day doesn't really work on race day.
Absolutely, and I think we don't really know why they're in it, because Goodyear, we know why they're in racing. I mean, they sell street tires, and I think Hoosier's starting to get into that, but what sells on Saturday and Sunday definitely, or what wins on Saturday and Sunday definitely sells Monday for Goodyear, and we don't know that, and we know Goodyear's going to be in it for a long, long time.
So. Let's go down to Skippers, Virginia. Donna, watching on Home Team Sports. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Congratulations on your Brickyard win, and I was at Charlotte when you won the big one there, and it was great to see you win.
Oh, thanks.
But I tell you, I'm a true Earnhardt fan, and if I can't pull for him, I pull for you. I just wondered what your relationship is with the Intimidator.
Well, I heard that Dale said the same thing. You know, that if he couldn't have won it, that he hoped that I could have. But you know, Dale has been great to me. He's really helped me out on the racetrack. Dale's the kind of guy that doesn't offer a lot of help, you know, verbally. But he'll show you a lot of things on the racetrack that if you pick him up, great. If you don't, then you're on your own.
Sure. Let's go to Pemberton, New Jersey now. Lisa watching on Sports Channel New York. Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Great, thank you.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, how are you?
My question to you is, who do you respect the most as a driver and why?
Oh, boy. Well,
and maybe even out of Winston Cup might be the answer for you.
That's really where I was going to go with it, because to me, my hero when I was growing up was Steve Kinzer. You know, I grew up in sprint car racing, always watching it and then involved in it, and that was one guy that I could never beat. You know, that guy was just so tough.
Not many people can.
No, not many still can, and he's really, it's amazing what he does in sprint car racing, and I've always looked up to him, and I still do, even though I'm in Winston Cup racing, you know, and he's in sprint car racing. It's two totally different worlds. I just really enjoy watching the guy and what he does.
Then he shows up at Talladega, goes out and wins the IROC race and beats the best in the business. So Steve Kinder's a heck of an answer. So many of you have been asking this evening, both here in person and by calling in, the address of the Jeff Gordon Fan Club. There it is, compliments of some of the folks here, the Jeff Gordon National Fan Club. Post Office Box 515, Williams, Arizona, 86046. We'll give that address to you again a bit later on if you don't have a pencil and paper handy at home. Might want to grab one during a break, and we'll give you that address again a bit later on. Right now, as we break away, why don't we check out the manufacturer's point standings after the win by Chevrolet on Saturday. Here's how it all stacks up heading into Sunday's Bud at the Glen here in Watkins Glen, New York. So we're back to more of your questions right after this. The DuPont Chevrolet and a strategy meeting between Jeff Gordon and the man on the left of the screen, crew chief Ray Evernham, an outstanding driver in his own right, a former mechanic with the International Race of Champions, and now the man who makes the strategy calls and helps get this fellow into victory lane. He is not one of those crew chiefs who has over the years, because he's relatively new, gotten the headlines of some of the others, but Lord, is he deserving of some headlines.
Absolutely. I can go on and on and on and talk about Ray, but I think the neat thing about was I never knew who Ray Evernham was. He never really knew who Jeff Gordon was, and when we got involved in Busch Grand National, my very first Busch Grand National event, he was there and he was a part of it. And he impressed me, and I guess I impressed him, and we've been together ever since. We just got a great line of communication. Plus, he's a good friend of mine.
He's a heck of a guy. He really is. We've got lots of folks joining us here in Corning this evening, as folks are always kind enough to show up wherever this particular program originates. And as you know, each Thursday night we give away a copy of the official NASCAR Winston Cup directory to the fan who comes the longest distance to join us. You can get your own copy of the directory by calling that 800 number, the toll-free number you see on the screen. They'll give you all the ordering directions and information, but it really is an outstanding book that is on the trucks of most all of the teams now. It really is an indispensable directory of Winston Cup racing. And joining us tonight from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Sonny has made the trip up here to the Finger Lakes of New York. Good to have you with us, sir, and enjoy the book. What's your question?
Eli, Jeff, sir. First of all, congratulations on your NASCAR career and the Brickyard.
Thank you very much.
What were some of the circumstances when you first come into NASCAR that you finally come to your senses and started and made the switch driving Chevrolets instead of Fords at the Hendrick camp?
Or even taking it a step further also, what first got you into this end of the business to start with? From the Midwest, where open wheels have been king, how'd you end up in a full-bodied sedan, let alone Chevy or Ford?
Right. Well, you know, we're running Thursday Night Thunder, or I guess Saturday Night Thunder at that time, getting a lot of publicity on TV, and some people started calling about, you know, sponsorship and where are you going next? What are you going to do next? I had no idea there was even another place to go. I was pretty happy doing what I was doing. But so I started looking around a little bit, and next thing I know, you know, I'm driving a Super V here on the road course. I'm driving a stadium truck for Toyota out in California with Ivan Stewart. I'm doing a stock car driving school at Buck Baker's in Rockingham. And when I did that school, it just clicked. I mean, it couldn't have been any more perfect than what happened. I mean, I just went down there. I loved it from the first day, and happened to meet a guy down there that owned a car that really wasn't such a race car driver himself, just enjoyed it and just had fun with it. He was a businessman out of Florida, And he said, hey, you know, I see something here. Let's do 3 races. And I was like, you know, wonderful. I mean, and I went on those 3 races, you know, not knowing what was going to come out of it.
And what's come out of it is an outstanding racing career for Jeff Gordon. Let's head out to the West Coast, where at 5:45 in the evening out there, folks now starting to get home from work. Let's go to Onyx, California. Diana watching this evening on Prime Ticket. Hello.
Hi, hello there.
Hi.
Thanks. Congratulations, Jeff, for winning last week. I told my husband you were going to win, but of course he didn't believe me until you did. Just wanted to ask you if you are going to be racing any of the NASCAR trucks. We were out at Mesa Marin in Bakersfield for the opening there, and they were just fantastic.
As a matter of fact, the trucks out there turn faster laps than the fastest stock car. Gary Collins, who had the track record in the truck, was quicker than his record stock car lap.
Well, I tell you, I looked at them when we were out there at Sears Point, and they're neat looking. I mean, they're different than anything I've ever seen to you know, have that much horsepower and to be a big full-bodied truck. It's interesting. I don't really know what my involvement's going to be in it, whether Hendrick Motorsports are going to get involved in trucks or not, but it's really hard. I mean, if I was going to get into anything, I'd get in an open-wheel car or a Busch Grand National car, and right now it's just not time for me to do that. When the timing's right and I find the right situation, then I'm definitely going to get into something, but and if that situation happens to be a truck, then great.
It wouldn't surprise anybody. A lot of fellows in this circuit, Jeff included, Kenny Schrader, many others, if it has wheels, they'll race it. We might just see things in the future that'll surprise you in those trucks, because they are really taking off out there. They had a very successful debut. We're coming right back, but first here's a track fact or two about Watkins Glen International, the famed road course here in the Finger Lakes of New York, which is about 20 minutes from where we sit this evening in Corning. Take a look and more of your calls. We talked earlier about Busch Series racing for NASCAR. You might remember the old Baby Ruth colors there. Jeff Gordon on yet another Busch pole in your illustrious Busch Series career. He had awfully good runs in that race car, didn't he?
Oh, man, that thing was strong, very strong. Yeah, he sat on 11 poles, I think, that year. So really enjoyed those times.
Special times. We go to Anderson, Indiana now for our next call. Don is watching on Prime Midwest. Hello.
Hello, Jeff.
Hi, how are you?
I'd like to congratulate you on a spectacular win at the Brickyard.
Thank you very much.
And the question I've got for you is, if you've got or had a 9-year-old son, what would you tell him, or how would you work it to get him into racing? Where would you start?
Or would you try and get him or her into racing?
It must be ESP or something.
Yeah.
We've been talking about...
We were talking about that during the commercial break.
Again, you know, I would present an option to them, and racing, I'm sure, would be one of them. And like I mentioned, golf would probably be something. But it doesn't always have to be even a sport. You know, I want my kids to be free and
do whatever they like.
And do whatever they like. And you know, I'm hoping that they make the right decision. But it doesn't have to be racing.
Next stop for us is Willoughby Hills, Ohio. A viewer on the Sports Channel Ohio. John, how are you?
Fine, thanks.
Sure. What can we do for you?
Congratulations, anyways, Jeff, on the win at Brickyard.
Thank you.
My question was, as far as the race you won at Charlotte, your first one, versus the race in your backyard at Indy.
Well, you know, I think that it's two totally different situations. When you win your first race, and it's funny that we talked about this earlier too, but I think that first win meant so much to me, just to be finally accomplishing a goal of a lifetime for a lot of people, and including myself, just to get that first one. It could have been anywhere, you know, but it was a great win at Charlotte. And then versus, you know, the Brickyard. The Brickyard is something that I wanted for myself, for the team, for everybody involved, and nobody's ever going to forget that first event. And I think it's just something that's so special about it, you know, the history behind the racetrack. So it's two totally different situations.
And you're forever in the books. Everybody remembers Ray Haroon won that first Indy 500. Nobody remembers who came home in second. So they're never going to take your name out of the books. It's funny, every time we do this show, while you folks at home watch commercials, we sit here and talk racing with our special guests. And so many of the questions tonight have been paralleling what you've been calling in this evening. A lot of very similar interests, both at home and here in person at Corning. Same thing next week in Detroit, Michigan. Hope you can come by and join us. We'll be at the Pass Studios. That's at WDIV-TV, right in downtown Detroit, 8 o'clock Eastern Time next Thursday. And 2 weeks from tonight, we'll be at the Paramount Theater in Bristol, Tennessee, again, 8 o'clock Eastern. And that theater accommodates darn close to 1,000 folks. So come on by and join us. We'll have a good time there, as we do on Thursday nights for This Week in NASCAR. As we leave you, here's a look at the broadcast schedule for Sunday's Budweiser at the Glen. If you can't make it up here to Watkins Glen, here's how you can listen and watch. Take a look. En route to another of the over 500 short track victories that this driver already has under his belt, Jeff Gordon at Raceway Park in Indianapolis. We had a young man here during the break talking about racing as a youngster. What did people think the whole family was just flat out nuts when they let the 5-year-old go racing?
Absolutely.
Did they?
I'll tell you, it wasn't so much 5 years old, because there's a lot of 5-year-olds out there that are racing quarter midgets. So that wasn't a big deal. But it's funny because I raced bicycles before, and my mom thought that was too dangerous. So then, so the next thing was a quarter midget. But actually, when they thought we were nuts is when put a 13 or 13 and a half, I guess, I was into a full-size sprint car. That's when people thought, well, something's crazy. But I tell you, my dad, he knew, you know, he knew that there was something, you know, about me and what was going to happen, and he amazes me more than anybody else.
Let's go to Mike in Wilmington, North Carolina. He's next with a question. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Great. I wanted to ask you a question on the circuit. Which is the track that you favor the most? Have you found one that you really like, that you feel at home at when you're racing?
Indy sounds like a pretty
There you go. That would have been my bet. We're talking about racetracks, so let's take a look at some pictures as we talk about your likes, obviously, of that flat 2.5. But here we got a whole different deal this weekend, and so many of your brethren love to see Watkins Glen in their rear view mirror. I mean, some of you guys are just not road racers, some are. How do you like this place?
I like Watkins Glen. I think that it suits the Winston Cup cars very well. You know, these big, heavy cars, they just don't always like to be thrown around left or right, and sometimes it's tough to control them, but technology's come in a little bit, you know, being able to lighten the cars up for one, but the Jericho transmission has just made it wonderful for guys like me that can't heel toe very well, and I've got little tiny feet, so I got the left foot brake, and not using the clutch, you know, helps out tremendously.
Just jam it and go, and it works awfully well for a lot of fellas. Let's go now to Kay. She's in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania, watching on the Prism Network. Hello.
Hi, Jeff. I just want to say congratulations on your Brickyard win, and we had the pleasure of seeing you at Knoxville last year. You're an extremely polished speaker, and I'd like to know what your expectations are from NASCAR now that you have gotten 2 wins under your belt.
My expectations, I don't know if she means my career or from NASCAR.
How about how many championships you think you're going to win? Let's bring it down to the. I mean, obviously you've got the ability. Do you have a master time schedule?
One thing I don't do is predictions, but I do know that the only way to top this Brickyard 400 is to win a championship, and you know that's definitely down the road for me. I mean, I can't, you know, I have no idea what's going to go on in the future, but we're building on a team for the future at Hendrick Motorsports. DuPont's going to be there for a long, long time, and hopefully Ray Evernham and I are going to stay happy for a long time. And if we do all that, if we keep that team together and keep everybody happy, I think we can go on and win championships someday.
Sounds like a heck of a deal for Jeff Gordon. We had mentioned earlier we're going to give you another look at the fan club address. For those of you who didn't have a pencil and paper handy earlier, the Jeff Gordon National Fan Club can be reached in Post Office Box 515, Williams, Arizona 86046. The driver of the DuPont Chevrolet is our special guest, but the folks who are also very special to us are our sponsors. Make a note of them. We're breaking away and we're coming right back.
This Week in NASCAR has been brought to you by Smooth Busch Beer and Easy Drinking Busch Light. Busch, the official beer of NASCAR. By Chevrolet. One car company has won more races in the history of NASCAR, genuine Chevrolet. And by Nutmeg Racing. Nutmeg's new NASCAR collection of caps and T-shirts are for race fans who want to stand out from the crowd.
After 10 years in the NFL and 3 Super Bowl victories, I thought I could coach any team. But NASCAR took some getting used to. I mean, the huddles only last a few seconds. Every game plan is nothing but passing, and instead of star quarterbacks, you've got star drivers. In fact, the only thing the two sports seem to have in common is that all the fans and the stars love wearing nutmeg.
Nutmeg Mills, NASCAR apparel officially licensed to stand out from the crowd.
I'll say one thing about this team. These boys love to run laps.
Hang on tight with Prime Motorcycle Racing. The bikes ride high. The tracks feel tough. The drivers are tough. It's the finest racing on 2 wheels. Motorcycle Racing, Thursday nights on Prime.
Walking up victory lane, or towards victory lane, one would assume, at Daytona International Speedway, Jeff Gordon and his fiancée, Brooke Seeley. When's the day for the wedding?
November 26th. You know, we got to wait till the season's over, and there's really only one day we can do it. So there better not be any rainouts. We were talking about that earlier. There better not be any scheduled events on that weekend.
Well, wish you guys the very best. And our hosts here at Corning want to give you a pair of Serengeti driver's glasses from Corning Optics. And, of course, our title sponsor, Nutmeg Mills, always giving away a sweater, a NASCAR sweater to our guests. And with the temperature dropping outside, might be something you can use here this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know about the sunglasses, but definitely the sweater is going to come in handy.
Jeff, thanks so much. Congratulations. And we trust you. We talk about many, many more victories in the years to come. Jeff Gordon, our special guest this evening, driver of the DuPont Chevrolet. Again, we want to remind you, next week we'll be in Detroit, Michigan at the Pass Network Studios. That's in the WDIV building, 8 o'clock Eastern next Thursday night. And our thanks to the folks here at Corning and the Corning Incorporated people. They have been a wonderful host to us. For all of us here at Prime and This Week in NASCAR, I'm Eli Gold. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everybody.
Guests on This Week in NASCAR receive the latest in sporty NASCAR wearing apparel from Nutmeg Mills. You can also stand up.